All right, America, I am blessed to have my esteemed OG back on here with me. And I think y'all enjoy my OG C Lee. You know what I'm saying? But I want to say this to y'all, real ones out there. If you love my OG, make sure you go back and check out his Everybody Got a Story. This brother has lived a life. He's lived an esteemed life. He's lived a fruitful life. The man that been in a room with Prince. The man that been in there conversing with Prince, America. He was writing a book with Prince. Y'all need to go watch that. Everybody Got a Story, because this is one of the realest men I've ever met. So I'm glad to bring him back on this week to get his take on some of the many controversies out here, OG. OG, we're going to go line by line with him, okay? We're going to go step by step, one at a time, because I know you got something to say about each one of them. Let's start first, OG, with Prime's HBCU level comments. America, if you missed those during halftime of the game between Jackson State and Grambling, Coach Prime was livid. And if you were the coach at Jackson State, you would have been livid as well based on our offense's first half performance. Our defense also gave up one big play, so I don't want to not mention that. But Coach Prime basically said he felt like our players were satisfied with playing on the HBCU level. And they're not thinking about getting to the next level, getting to the league, and playing on Sundays and things of that nature. But those comments have some in HBCU world, I might should say many, upset with Coach Prime. So, OG, I want to get your thoughts on those comments.
So before I give you my thoughts, let me ask you a question. When you first heard those comments, did anything controversial resonate to you?
When I first heard them, OG, I didn't think twice about it. That's why when I started seeing stuff about it, I doubled back thinking I had missed something.
See, what that represents is human beings, we have this innate ability to do two things. Mm-hmm. We can lie to ourselves and we can project our perspective onto others. And so often what happens is if people are looking for negative, or if they are themselves negative, they will project that negativity onto others. And that's what's here. But let's deal with those particular comments, right? So there are two possible meanings that one can infer or interpret from Coach Sanders' comments during halftime of the Grambling game. One possible meaning, right, is that he was saying that too many of his players have either become content with simply enjoying the love and culture of an HBCU and have lost focus on being the best student athlete they can be. To that point, brother, first, how many freshmen and sophomores have you known to get to college and to become distracted by the overall extracurricular activities, which caused them not to focus on their studies? I'm not going to sit here and lie like when I was in college, I never partied. I never got distracted. And so when you add to the equation that a lot of players, particularly a lot of the players at Jackson State, are just now learning about and experiencing HBCU culture, it's easy to see how they could become distracted from being the best student athletes they can be. So that's one meaning that I can infer from Coach Sanders' statement. Now, the other meaning that one could infer from Coach Sanders' statement of it being demeaning toward HBCU athletics. Yet, how can he be seen as a person demeaning HBCU athletics when he has been one of the leading voices about HBCU players not being drafted by the NFL? Before Coach Sanders, what national or local figures did you hear making noise about HBCU players not being drafted other than, say, the folks at HBCU Game Day, Dr. Cavill Sports Lab, and BCSN Sports Rap? But other than those kind of very small, they're not small groups, but other than those groups, no one else was making as much noise about that. As such, I find it useless to debate anyone who has a negative view of Coach Sanders or JSU because they are driven by emotion than intellect. If you just look at his halftime talk, he did what any leader or coach should do. He kicked their butts at the beginning of the halftime talk, and he came back and he was nurturing and loving with them. That's true leadership. The problem with too many of us, we can take the loving and the nurturing, but we can't take the critique. It's like with any student, right? If they're cool when they get an A on the paper, but when they do less than that and the teacher has to correct and say this is a C paper, they're not cool with that. So that's one of the major issues, but it's ultimately all of the stuff that you're telling me that people are saying online, all these things, it's about people projecting their own negativity. And I'll give you one particular example. There are multiple social media and YouTube platforms that have risen to great popularity solely on demonizing Jackson State. Now let's think about this for a moment. Jackson State University is one of only 11 HBCUs that is a R2 or research level 2 institution in the country. Of the 90 to 100 HBCUs, because we like to fluctuate, is it 90 something, is it 103 HBCUs? Of all of those HBCUs, only 11 of them have reached R2 status. And yet, despite this accomplishment, there are social media and YouTube platforms that exist solely to demonize one of the most excellent institutions we have. These platforms would exist except for being built on the hatred of demonizing JSU. And let me show you just how sad and pathetic this is. Jackson State University exists in the poorest state in the nation with the worst white folks in the nation, yet has overcome those odds to become one of only 11 HBCUs that's an R2 institution. And still, you have folks making a name for themselves by disparaging the accomplishments of JSU. Therefore, you cannot tell me that any of these platforms are driven by anything other than racism and self-hatred. Because what would be any other reason to demonize an HBCU that has done all that it has done as an R2 institution? That's how I look at it.
Now, you're absolutely right about that. Some of these platforms exist solely to troll. They call hating trolling now. OG in the social media era, hating is trolling now. But it's lucrative. It's like I was telling my brother the other night. I said, bro, it's lucrative to hate on Jack State. It's lucrative to do that because you got to think about everybody who we might beat or everybody that we got a rivalry with or got smoke with, whatever the case may be. They gonna tune in to that publication. So you're right about that. That's not righteous to hate on somebody just for views or for attention or for money, but that's what we're dealing with today.
And see, and for me, and I know, based on my article that I wrote, when I don't like to talk negatively about, and I don't like to talk negatively about other HBCUs. But let me say this clearly to all of the Jackson State haters or trollers. If your school is not an R1 or R2 institution, I really don't care to hear what you have to say about Jackson State because you're not on our level. Once you and your school get to our academic level, I might consider what you have to say about JSU. Additionally, if your school is at R2 or R2 level, you should be too concerned with the excellent research of your institution to be concerned with demonizing another research level institution. Moreover, if your school is a R1 or R2 institution, before you say anything negative about Jackson State, keep in mind that we have one of the smallest budgets of any research level institution, yet we are producing scholarship that is equal to the vast majority of research level institutions in the country. So while haters are going to hate or trollers are going to troll because that's what they're born to do, Jackson State will continue to be a research level institution because that's what we were born to do. And nothing that the racists, the buffoons, and the self-hating Negroes can say can minimize the greatness of DI Love. And finally, to all the folks who love to say, well, what y'all gonna do when Coach Sanders leave y'all? We will continue to do what we have always done. First, we will continue to be the only HBCU to lead the FCS in attendance and continue to win all of the sports. See, because only Grambling and Southern are the only teams in the SWAC that have a winning record against us. So this narrative of JSU being a perpetual loser or bottom feeder is historically inaccurate. We were a major force in the SWAC in all aspects of academics and athletics before the arrival of Coach Sanders, and we will remain that whenever he chooses to leave because that's what Jackson State is.
That's real. And I just want to add to that to make sure now, y'all real ones that down with me, y'all already know that. Some of y'all may be new, but I am by no means a Coach Prime apologist. If you've been watching Put It On Something for real, I've disagreed with Coach Prime on numerous things. Let's just put it like that. But on this, as a former teacher, as a former coach, I just thought I heard a coach coaching because it's kind of like when the last school I taught at was in a weird situation. It was 95 to, it was 99% black school, but it was in a primarily white district. And while we were doing a great job, our test scores weren't beating the white schools. And so I used to try to tell my kids, I am not satisfied with us just being the best black school. I don't care about that. Okay. Your teacher graduated from Southern Miss, and I graduated number one, not just of all black people, of everybody. So my level is here. I expect your level to be here, and I want to be better than everybody, black, white, whatever. So I took his comments as that, and just that they weren't. Also, with our recruiting classes, we don't have FCS. Let's say that if he would have used those letters instead of HBCU, maybe people wouldn't have got offended, I guess. Because really, Jackson State's wide receiver room, defensive back room, defensive line room, offensive line looked good yesterday. I wouldn't put it Power 5 room, but it was FBS room on yesterday. All right, with Mr. Wilkinson running that ball, we got about 130 yards on the ground with him and stuff like that. We were doing stuff. So I know for sure, though, the wide receiver room, the DB room, and the defensive line room is FBS level. Okay? So maybe he should have, maybe he was inarticulate by saying HBCU, but whatever the case is, we are trying to level up. And
again, your example about a teacher pushing, right? That's perfectly true. I think as a coach, you'll understand this. Okay. In basketball practice one day in high school, we were running suicides. For those of you who don't know, that's line to line, and that is the most difficult thing. One of the most difficult things you would do in basketball practice. I hate suicides. And we had this one guy on the team, Donnell. He was the fastest person on the team. So he was leading the suicides. And finally, like after we'd gone all the way up and all the way back a couple of times, the coach blew the whistle and said, Donnell, damn it, give me 25 laps. And he threw the basketball so hard, I thought he had burst the ball. So the rest of us standing there like, I mean, well, I know we got to run laps because he was leading us. So seeing our confusion, the coach said, Donnell knows he's faster than y'all. So he's just running fast enough to beat y'all. But what happens if Donnell ever runs up on somebody that's faster than him? That day I understood what real coaching is. I understood what real teaching is. It's about teaching young people. One, don't be afraid of greatness. Don't be afraid to reach for greatness, and understand that sometimes you're going to be your own challenge. So when he was saying that, he was saying, don't just be happy winning your regular season opponents, right? Beating your regular season opponents. Don't just be don't just be happy dominating, winning against the SWAC East or the SWAC West. We're trying to win the Celebration Bowl.
Yes.
Right? Yes. Let's be really clear. Yes. As a second generation Jackson State grad, and I was saying this, I was giving a lecture at Tougaloo College. I gave a lecture at Tougaloo College at 9 a.m. and then was at the vet by 11. That show you how to be out love. So I was saying to them that I told them, somebody said, if Jackson State doesn't win the Celebration Bowl, it's a bust. Let's be real clear. All our chips, like you said, all the transfers, all the recruits, all our chips is at the center of the table. We've already won this SWAC. So we can prove that we can do that. We haven't proven that we can beat South Carolina State. We haven't proven that we can beat the MEAC. So unless we win, and that's the message that he's trying, he said, don't, 2-0 is nothing. 3-0, for some of you new cats, winning a SWAC is nothing. We did that. So if you are not here to win the Celebration Bowl and be the greatest you can be, this is not the place for you. And that is all I heard when he gave his comment. And to hear anything else is for somebody else to project their own malice, their own evil, their own whatever onto somebody else's words. Because now they're just looking, they're moving the goalposts, right? Right? Somebody said Jackson State was going to lose 2 or 3 games. That's what they said. I wonder how that's looking. And again, I don't even like to get into trash talk, but it's every time Jackson State does something, it's moving the goalpost.
If somebody thought, America, You go find that person who said we were going to lose 3 games. That person needs to be in the insane asylum right now. And here in Mississippi, we call it Whitfield. Wherever y'all are, find them and lock them up, put the straight jacket on them, or take the weed out their hand. Maybe they on that good stuff. Maybe they in one of these states where it's legalized and they got a high grade. They need to be tested right now. My God. But, I just couldn't believe that one, OG. But y'all chime in, America. Tell us what y'all thought about Coach Prime's HBCU level comments. Put it on something.
Thank you so much for watching my daddy's YouTube channel. Make sure you like, share, and turn on your post notifications. Okay, how do I do it?